Meeting of council to order for Tuesday, July 2nd, 2024. Take approval of the agenda, please. Councilor Norbury.
That the July 2nd, 2024 regular council meeting agenda be adopted as presented.
Seconder, Councilor Clickash. All in favor? Carried. Councilor Noxana, thank you for joining via Zoom. If you don't oppose a vote, I'll just consider that you're in favor, correct? Okay. Adoption of the minutes for May 13th, 2024 special council meeting minutes. Recommendation, please. Councilor Dussault.
That the May 13th, 2024 special council meeting minutes be adopted as presented.
Seconder, Councilor Norbury. Any errors or omissions, council? Staff? Call the question. All in favor? Carried. June 3rd, 2024 regular council meeting minutes. Recommendation, please. Councilor Norbury.
That the June 3rd, 2024 regular council meeting minutes be adopted as presented.
Seconder, Councilor Hoffman. Any errors or omissions, council? Staff? No. Call the question. All in favor? Carried. June 10th, 2024 special council meeting minutes. Recommendation, please. Councilor Dussault.
That the June 10th, 2024 special council meeting minutes be adopted as presented.
Seconder, Councilor Clickash. Any errors or omissions from council? Staff?
No.
Call the question. All in favor? Carried. June 18th, 2024 special council meeting minutes. Recommendation, please. Councilor Norbury.
That the June 18th, 2024 special council meeting minutes be adopted as presented.
Seconder, Councilor Clickash. Any errors or omissions from council? Staff?
No.
Call the question. All in favor? Carried. Any business arising from the minutes, council? Staff?
No.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. We're supposed to have a delegation from Aaron Irvin, CRESCENT resident. I think we'll just move it. If she does show up, we'll slide it in if that's okay with council. Okay. Consent agenda. Take the recommendation, please. Councilor Norbury.
That all items in the July 2nd, 2024 consent agenda be moved for information.
Seconder, Councilor Hoffman. All in favor? Carried. Are there any items that council would like to bring forward? Councilor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Kukalka. 7.8, Tumbler Ridge Outdoor Recreation Association.
Okay, for discussion, seconder. I'll second that. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Councilor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Kukalka. So we have a letter from Trora asking for the waiver of green fees for a annual golf tournament in which they're putting on because TR Cares can't. So I support them. I think it's a great opportunity for them to raise funds for the organizations that are a part of Trora, whether that may expand or not. So I'm going to motion that we waive the green fees for the golf tournament.
Okay, seconder. Councilor Clickash. Discussion. Councilor Clickash.
Does that mean that the fees for the carts are waived as well?
Right now, the motion is just to waive the green fees. Okay. That's the motion that's on the floor.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem. Any other discussion? Councilor Julik.
As much as I really like to support all the people in the community, this budget season was a tough one. I feel like we need to, I feel like I need for my comfort level to have a little bit better idea about what we are giving out in basically grant and aids, fee for services, and then when we waive funds like this. We had a fairly considerable tax increase this year, and I can see that if we continue to do that until we have some policy around what this kind of looks like, I feel like piecemeal isn't the word, but we do it and we have so many of them without having an actual total at the end. So I will not be voting in favor of this today.
Thank you. I have Councillor Hoffman.
Thank you, Mayor. I understand where Councillor Julick's coming from. We did have a tough budget season. I know we have a certain number of these that we sort of do on an annual basis, and since this one's replacing one that we were talking about before, I am going to be voting in favor. That said, I'm considering moving for a report on the golf course in a general way of, we've seen piecemeal of sort of what the golf court does in costs and piecemeal and what they do in sort of revenues. And I think it's time that we sort of look at the golf course as a whole and see what it costs the town and just where our revenues, where our costs on balance. But I don't want it to be part of this. I think this motion of itself, I'm fine with. And I just wanted to address the fact that I think it is time we did look at the golf course in that way. But I don't want to get in the way of Trora having their tournament.
Thank you. I got myself and I got Councillor Noxana. A couple things. My comments will be, one, it's a late request. Doesn't mean it's replacing one. Just because one has decided not to continue this year, this is a late request. And my understanding is if this motion does pass, we'll have to obviously put another motion forward to waive our policy, because this should have came in before the deadline for that ask. The other comments I'll make, and it's not that I don't support Tora. I think it's a great thing that has started up. I think they are definitely succeeding on what they're moving forward, and it's something I always thought about when I first moved here, when I was part of the Sportsman Association for the Gun Club, of getting an organization, like an umbrella over all of us. But when I also look at it in regards to where the funds are going, which is the Grizzly Valley ATV Club, the Snowmobile Club, Mountain Bike Foundation, the Mountain Bike Society, and WMS, thank you. This year alone, we gave $14,000 to the ATV Club in the budget of 2024, $14,700 to the Snowmobile Club in this year's budget, $17,373 to Tora. Again, I think we talk about a hard budget process or whatever. If this had come in on time, it gives me other ways to debate other things that are being asked for. I think with it being a late request, it's very tough for myself to go forward with it. For those reasons, if you look at the amount, it's over $40,000 with 3 organizations that are part of Tora, and all 3 of those came through Tora. It wasn't just individually. And again, I support everything that Tora is doing, including the clubs. I pushed for the ATV clubs amount. I pushed hard for the Snowmobile Club through this council to get support from council to move forward with that, because I think it was great in events that they were proposing to happen in Tumbler Ridge. When we had a delegation from the Tora president, that was one of my questions. If this was not approved, to waive this, would their golf tournament still continue? And the answer from that gentleman was yes. So I don't think it stops them from doing the tournament as a fundraiser. But again, it's a late request, and to me, it could have made a difference in some of our budget discussions and deliberations. So those would be my comments. Councillor Noxana, then Councillor Norbury.
Thank you. I almost forgot to unmute myself. I'm understanding that we don't have any other requests for golf tournaments. We have so many allocated and haven't filled all those.
We had 3. One is turned themselves down or unable to do it this time. Those requests, again, have to come in by a certain time. So again, we'd have to waive our policies.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Kakalkas. Since we were talking about the budget, I look at, we did have to cut funding to one of the organizations. I think it's important for us to try and get creative in allowing organizations to fundraise in our municipality. I think this opportunity is a lot of work. They're going to get some funding out of it, but it's a way that we don't have to give taxpayer funding directly to organizations. We can allow them to put in the work, earn some revenue for their organizations. I think it's a great initiative. I think we should be supporting that in our community. And if others are trying to find ways to, say, host a special swim night where all fees get donated to an organization, that's a way that they can help fundraise for their organization. I think it's a great opportunity, and I think this is awesome. These organizations are willing to do this, so I'm in full support. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more discussion? My comments there, Councilor Berry, and I appreciate your comments. Again, if we hadn't already given budget dollars to these organizations, I think I'd have a different insight. So, you know, I fully support the concept of the golf tournaments coming forward and individuals applying for it through their societies and stuff like that to use it as fundraisers. But again, not after we've already, to me, distinguished a bunch of budgetary dollars towards these organizations. To me, you know, I don't want to call it double dip because it's obviously the funds that were given to the ATV Club are for events. So one of it is obviously the Osta Cruises event, and then it was to help videotape the RMX that's coming in, and that's to the Snowmobile Club. Again, if they would have came in with looking for a golf tournament to fundraise, and then after that they still needed some dollars, I think then it's a different look than to me giving out that amount of money and then, you know, doing this way for them to fundraise. I think it's, you know, any society that wants to come forward to do it, I agree with it. I just think it needed to be in earlier so that it could have been part of the deliberations. Councillor Julik.
Yeah, and I just want to say again that I'm really supportive of Trora and the committees or the organizations that they represent. I feel when we talk about the different funds and whether it's taxpayer or not, there's green fees that get lost that day because the golf course is being used. So anybody else coming out to do green fees, so that loses some time there and it loses some money. So, like, I mean, we can weigh things back and forth, and for me, it's just at this point, when I look at our report of 2023 and we had $1.1 million we gave out in fee-for-service and grant and aids, that's a lot of cash. And when that comes, those are taxable events that we're doing. So for me, I just feel like this one I've got to say no to until we get some tighter guidelines around our grant and aid and fee-for-service pieces.
Thank you for your comments. Any other comments, discussion? Okay, so the motion is on the floor to waive the green fees for the Trora Golf Tournament. Going to call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Councillor Dussault, Councillor Julik, and Mayor Kakalka opposed. Motion carries. She was in favor. You're in favor, Councillor Noxena? That's, yep, I seen your hand up. Yep. Not to put staff in the spot, but do we have the policy number that we have to waive?
No.
Okay. So that'll just have to be brought forward to another meeting, or if we can look it up in the middle. I don't have it in front of me, so. We can look at doing it at the end of the meeting if we have to, just to waive that policy, if somebody doesn't forget. Okay, are there any other items that council would like to bring out of correspondence? Councilor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Kalka. 7.3 for discussion.
Okay, seconder. I'll second that. All in favor? Carried. Councilor Norbury.
Sorry, I turned myself off there, Mayor Kalka. You know, I don't really have any motions coming out of this, but I just wanted to bring it up. I think this is a great piece of literature presented by the City of Kamloops to show the actual costs of downloading on municipalities. You know, they're looking at millions of dollars that they have to make up for due to downloading on municipalities. It was eye-opening. You know, I don't know if I would fully agree with their final estimation, you know, of 20-something million dollars, but like, you know, $135 million because 122 of future impacts, right? But, you know, it's, you know, almost $4 million in gaps in service delivery, right? Like it's, you know, I'm glad somebody's finally bringing this to the forefront. Just wanted to bring that up. Thanks.
Yep, no, appreciate your comments. I think most of the bigger cities are talking about it, whether that's Port Alberni, Kamloops, Campbell River, Vancouver, Surrey, Abbotsford, you know, the download of the fire department for medical responding. They talk about it. So it's huge. It's definitely a huge number, and you'll hear it at the UBCM for sure this year. Any other discussion on that? Okay, are there any other items council would like to bring forward? Councillor Dussault.
7.9.
Okay, for discussion, seconder, Councillor Norbury, all in favor? Carried.
I would just like to send a big thank you to Mika McLean as well, a student well deserving of one of our bursaries that we handed out. So thank you, Mika.
Perfect. And thank you for bringing that forward. It was one of the ones I started. It's great to see our youth respond right away, so I think it's huge. So, and thank you for attending that on behalf of the mayor. Any other discussion on that item? Okay, are there any other items council would like to bring forward? Okay. Moving on to new business. Let's just roll back to 6.1. I see in the gallery that we have Aaron Irvin in attendance. So Aaron Irvin, Ash Crescent resident, in attendance to request council information on hosting a block party. Aaron, please come up to the delegation table there. Thank you. Floor is yours.
I was really hoping Yvonne was going to be here. It's pretty straightforward stuff. We chatted and we thought maybe putting together a block party on specifically our street, so we are on Ash. Obviously, like the intent of this party would be like a community within a community. You know, strengthen those bonds, especially with people that have been there really long. We ourselves have owned almost 20 years. And we have some new people in the street, but we also have some seniors as well. So getting to know the people that are closest to us is the idea. We're looking to see if there's anything with the town that can be helped for. We're looking for things like the setup and possibly entertainment for the children. We know that there's certain things that are can be utilized through the district at like the community center for events. So it's kind of similar to what you saw on Canada Day. We're looking for chairs, tables, tents, any big game structures. She even has in here, I'm sure she did a little research, but like the dunk tank to just give examples. It's just the beginning of process. We are looking at the dates for July 3rd. But obviously, if this is something that we can't pull together for this year, it's definitely something we want to try to put together for next year, definitely. That's kind of where we're at.
Perfect. First, I want to thank you for coming forward. It's great to see residents come forward, and I'm assuming you mean August 3rd, right?
Oh, sorry, August, yeah.
So one thing we don't do is ever make decisions during delegation, so this would have to be pushed off to another meeting anyways.
Okay.
It would not make your timeline.
Okay.
I don't really have questions. I'm going to make a couple comments. I would work with staff on certain things, like whether that's the road closures and blockades.
Yes.
When it comes to other things, like tables and chairs and the dunk tank and all that, we can't actually give that out to local residents. They have to rent it.
Okay, so is there something in that where, you know, like funds can be supplied where then we can still fund that in that way? Like, I don't really know.
Yeah, I know so we actually, through the charter, can't give individual funds to an individual resident.
Okay, so
Usually
how-
it's through societies. Like,
Okay.
so you've seen earlier, or I'm not sure if you were here when we went through with Torah. So usually it's not-for-profit societies and stuff through grant and aid, fee-for-services, requests.
So then a next step to something like this that we kind of were hoping that it could be the beginning stages of, like, it's not just us doing this. Like, it could be a community thing that happens within a smaller community to still keep it tight. So is there something then we would apply for to be able to even think about having something where we can shut down a portion of the road and, you know, have this
Yeah.
like be a possibility?
Yeah, so when it comes to shutting down the road, actually, we'll just deal with our CAO. I don't know their legals there, but staff have that, that authority
Okay.
to deal with, you know, whether it's businesses or local residents for certain things that they can approve. If it's something that's out of their scope, they would bring it back to council. It would be no different in regards to like tables and chairs and tents or the dunk tank and stuff. I would talk to staff. There may be something out there that you can apply for through other organizations that can help fund it, but I know the municipality can't fund it
Okay.
through taxation, through tax dollars. But yeah, I honestly, like I said, I totally appreciate coming forward, writing the letter, and then coming in as a delegation just to try and work through that process. But the best thing to do, I mean, and I say to reach out to our CAO, which is Lisa Scotch, just sitting to my right, but to your left. And then she'll just, obviously, that's our council as a whole's employee, so I can't direct you to talk to other staff, but she'll assist you on who to go talk to.
Okay.
But that's the steps I would start with first. I think it's great what you guys are trying to do. I think it's a great philosophy and to bring that neighborhoods back to the neighborhoods and community involvement, whether it's like I always preach it, that it's one big family in Tumbler Ridge, and I believe that. And I think that's getting there. I just don't know how or where we can participate from, waiving fees and stuff like that. We would have to take direction from staff to make sure we're following the charter and we're not doing anything outside that scope from our side. But I definitely, the first, maybe it won't work this year. Maybe you have to do something a little bit smaller. But if you work with our CAO, I imagine they can start that process and probably steer you in the right way. And if there's something that she knows that we can do or staff can help with, I'm sure staff would be
Yeah, we weren't sure.
more than capable.
Because of obviously keeping it within our street, like what are the regulations to have that amount of people? What are you doing? What is your focus?
Yep.
Are you having music? Are you having children's games? Is it family orientated, which this would be? So like, that's kind of where we're at. What are the regulations within that zone? So we have looked a little online and a little bit in town, but I haven't seen too much around that because I don't think this has been done before in Tumbler Ridge.
Yeah, I know there's been smaller ones hosted within the municipality. I've seen it. Maybe
I've seen
not,
weddings.
maybe not where they're blocking off streets and stuff like that. But then, because it comes other liabilities, and I think, staff working through that, but, it could be insurance liability. There could be things that you may have to do that I'm not aware of, just because of the way you're doing it, and maybe because you're doing it the way you're doing it is, there's other boundaries there. But I mean, to me, we personally would, I think it's great if our residents come together and do things like that. I know we've hosted one where I live. It was kept a little quieter, maybe in a couple different yards, so it wasn't on a street.
Yeah.
Because it comes into, is there going to be alcohol? What's the liability if somebody gets injured? Who's taking on the liability? There was a lot of that steps when we looked into it, but again, I would honestly direct you to talk with CAO.
Okay.
Councilor Norbury? Oh, we got more questions for you.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you, Mayor Kakaka. I liked your and Yvonne's idea. I think it's a neat idea, bringing that block party to create togetherness. I kind of think of like you see on movies or whatever of, the kids opening up the fire hydrant and, the water's playing on the street and everyone's having a good time. I'll be honest, I share some of the mayor's concerns about having a private party. I've been a part of some organizations that have hosted like community events and that we have asked for district assets through like fee waiver policies, right? Again, you'd have to talk with our staff about how that works, but, I think if you guys were looking to host an event like this, I think, this is from my experience, the best way to do it would be to team up with an organization or society that has liability insurance, right? And then you can approach staff to create this event. The challenge is if you're married to having a private event, because then that's a private event, that's different, right? But if it's a community event, like celebrate Ash Crescent, open to the public, I think you might have an easier way that way. That'd be my opinion. Because then it's for the entirety of the community and not just for a private party, right?
Yeah, and the problem, well, not problem, but adjacent to that, I suppose, is that the idea also surrounding neighborhood safety. You don't really know everybody that's living on your street. You have new people coming in and out. So the idea behind ASH only is that we're really diving into who are our neighbors, knowing people more than just by their name and what car they drive. Who are the people in our community, which then leads you to a safer community than you're seeing somebody that you don't recognize in the area. You kind of are, that it's all kind of attached in that way, but again, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, good comments.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
because you're thinking, we were thinking having everyone be able to come and enjoy the different things, but then it does take away from that what the idea is and getting to know your specific neighbors in that area. So there's some roadblocks there, definitely, so.
Yep, appreciate that. Councilor Julik?
Yeah, and from what Mayor Kakalka said, it sounds like the closing of the road is the easiest part of it. So I think that, I think you could, right? I think you could still totally do this, Aaron. I think that people just have to bring their lawn chairs and you'd have to figure that out and maybe have the roads closed and maybe you can't, but I still think that you could do it. I hear what you're saying and I understand the idea, the big idea. maybe it just starts slow this year and can go from there. And because I think it's a great idea, getting to know each other. And I find since I've moved here, some of that's changed a little bit just because we've had lots of people coming in and going out and that kind of thing. Or maybe it ends up being somewhere, maybe not on Ash. You guys are fairly close over to the school or whatever, but I totally hear what you're trying to do, and I really applaud you for that. And like I say, so far it sounds like maybe closing the road is the easiest part. And you might have to just scale her down some, but I wish you all the best of luck and echo what Councillor Norbury and Mayor Kakalka said. If you just reach out to staff, they'll give you the best information, and then if we can help you out in another way, we could totally try and do that for you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from council? All right, well, thank you very much for coming in. Apologize that it's,
We're learning.
looking other ways,
No
but
idea.
and that's the thing, I think it's great. Pat you guys on the back for coming forward, and hopefully you can make some of it work. And again, if you just reach out to Lisa Scott during the day, she'll be able to steer you in the right way. And I don't want to give anybody the view that it's easy to close a street in Tumble Ridge. Again, I don't know what the legals are.
Yeah.
I just know they can do that to themselves. So
Absolutely.
just want to make sure that's known. Thank you again
Thank
very
you
much.
very much. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
All right, moving on to 9.1, 2023 District of Tumble Ridge Annual Report. Report dated July 2nd, 2024 from the Deputy Corporate Officer regarding 2023 District of Tumble Ridge Annual Report. Before we do the recommendation, I'm going to put a motion on the floor that we remove page 72 of the agenda, which is page 24 of that report. A couple things on that is, actually I'll get a second and I'll just explain it why. If I can get a seconder to remove that page. So page, Councillor, just so. So it's page 74 in our agenda, sorry, not 72, 74, but page 24 of the annual report. So one thing, that page there, it's still a work in progress in regards to the org chart, and it is not a requirement to have it within the annual report to have the annual report proceed. So that's why I'm asking to remove it. Any other discussion? Okay, so the motion is to remove page 24 of the report, but page 74 of the agenda. I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, I'll take the recommendation now as amended. Councillor Julik,
That the District of Tumble Ridge Annual Report 2023 be adopted as amended.
thank you. Seconder, Councillor Hoffman. Discussion. Okay, going to call the question. All in favor? Carried. 9.2, District Departments, report dated July 2nd, 2024, from the Director of Community Services and Facilities regarding the District Departments. Recommendation, please. Councillor Jilek.
The council receives this report for discussion.
Seconder, Councillor Norbury. All in favor? Carried. Councillor Jilek.
I really appreciated all the information that was on here, and I'm wondering if Ms. Scott can give us some feedback after moving through the process, if staff sees some different ways this might move forward. I feel like we would need a policy, but maybe I'm just that person who wants policy on a lot of stuff, so I was just hoping for feedback from staff, if you thought that was appropriate.
Ms. Scott?
Yes. I think it was always the intention to have policy, and yes, I would agree there should be some policy, and probably either some MOUs or some rental agreements with the tenants of the apartments.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor Kakalka. That was my thoughts exactly as well, is that we have these apartments, we are utilizing them in different ways. I think it's appropriate that we create a policy. So the first motion that I have is that staff bring back a report to create a policy regarding the use of DTR-owned apartments.
Okay, seconder. Councillor Jilek, discussion? Councillor Hoffman?
Thank you, Mayor. My only concern with the motion is it's quite broad. There's nothing directive about it other than a policy. which it's a starting point. I'm okay with going forward with that. But sort of, like, do we want a return on these apartments? Do we have a cap on how much we would want to spend every year? I think that might be helpful, but if we just want to do it that broadly, I'm actually okay with it, surprisingly. But yeah, I'm wondering if we can narrow it down a little bit.
Yeah, so before Councilor Brady speaks, I think the report is just to get this started in the concept of what it would look like. Because we don't have one. We don't have a policy on it. I mean, the apartments were bought previous years ago. So I think this is just a start of what we would be looking for within that policy. But that'd be that's what we're looking for. We just want the initial groundwork kind of done to see what we're looking at in regards to the policy. And maybe it's not a policy, it was just mentioned previously by the CEO, whether it's MOUs in regards to Northern Health accessing our apartments and such like that, just to make sure so it gives staff a time to have a gathering through the information that we already have on hand. Councillor Hoffman?
Thank you. Then I would just say that not looking for an in-depth report, just looking as a starting point, just not spend a whole lot of time, but let's get the ball rolling. As I said, I'm actually okay with that, surprisingly, so.
Thank you. Councillor Julick?
Yeah, I'd just like to echo, I'm quite happy with what Ms. Scott had talked about, like what kind of ideas she has, and so I'm like you guys, let's just wait and see what they have to come forward, because that's their expertise, not mine, so thanks.
Yeah. Any other discussion? Okay, going to call the question. All in favor? Carried. Councillor Noberry?
Thank you, Mayor Kakalka. The next thing I think is important, is that we get something in writing with Northern Health regarding what's going on with those apartments. As far as I know, we have discussions, but we don't have any expectations on what both sides bring to the table and what they're supposed to be doing. And we don't have any exit clause other than, we bring it to council or what have you, right? So I think it's important for us to have at least a memorandum of understanding with Northern Health. So I'm gonna move that a memorandum of understanding be developed for Northern Health's use of our unit outlining expectations as well as end clauses.
Okay, seconder. Councillor Dussault. Discussion. I'm just going to make a comment. My thoughts there would, it's not that I don't support it, Councillor Norbury, but my thoughts there is the initial report would have that information in there and gives staff. So to me, when we're looking for that initial report of which way should we go, whether it's MOUs, what steps have we already missed? When we add another one, and now we're adding just more staff time to do, I'm going to say almost a duplicate concept, if that makes sense. But that to me is going to be an initial report. This is what we should be doing on the Northern Health side, and this is what we should have for whether it's when we hire senior staff or contractors unit. Here's what we should have them sign. To me, when we ask them for first a report, and then let's start with an MOU with Northern Health, that might be including an initial report, but we're going to spend double the amount of time to get two different reports made. That would be my only comment. Councillor Norbury and then Councillor Julick.
Thank you, Mayor Kakaga. Good point. I didn't really think about that. To be honest, it sounded like something that could be done concurrently and it'd be easy to do, but hearing you speak, it makes sense that this policy would already encompass that, so I'd be fine if we defeat the motion.
Thank you. Councillor Julick and then Councillor Hoffman.
Yeah, thanks for that, Councillor Norbury. I was, for me, sitting on the healthcare task force, we've discussed with Ms. Borton what they do within Chetwynd and the differences they have there. And so that would be, I was just going to say, I think that would be part of the initial report, that they would be able to reach out to Northern Health, and then Northern Health could tell them what their guidelines are in there and what they are allowed and not allowed to do on their behalf. So yeah, I will be voting against it, just to help defeat the motion, as you mentioned.
Thank you. Councillor Hoffman.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to add to the points that an MOU may not be sufficient when they do the research. So I don't want to dictate MOU as the solution in that case. So if we're doing broad strokes, let's leave it as broad as possible. And if the recommendation is an MOU, then we'll look at MOU. If it's a contract, if it's nothing, we'll go from there. So I don't want to dictate MOU at this point. Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate that. Good comments. Councillor Norbury, can you just read your motion out again, please?
That a memorandum of understanding be developed for Northern Health's use of our units, outlining expectations and end clauses.
Thank you. Okay, going to call the question. All in favor? Opposed? All council and mayor are opposed. Motion is defeated. Okay, Anything else from that? Okay, moving on to BC Wildfire Service Control Burns, report dated July 2nd, 2024, from the Chief Administrative Officer regarding the wildfire service controlled burns. Recommendation that the report on collaboration with BC Wildfire Services for controlled burns be received for discussion. Seconder, please. Councilor Norbury. All in favor? Carried. First off, just want to thank staff. Fairly quick to get this back in front of us. Thank you for that. I guess I just want some direction or some clarity from staff, if I may. Obviously, it may not work this year, but it talks about how they can, they've done. Doesn't something sound like it's something they normally do, but I've had conversations, not obviously where staff would possibly reach out to. Be careful where I go with this, but I've attended other conferences and have had people approach me from BC Wildfire Services as I've hammered them in regards to some of the concerns we had during our evacuation and when we had the fire close to Tumbler Ridge. And, you know, there was comments made multiple times about something like this being looked at. Maybe you're missing a step. So I read through it. It does state that, you know, it's something that they could be looked into. And I honestly don't want to direct staff to go out and start looking at areas where we should possibly or may or would work. But if it's something, I guess my question would be for clarity, is this something staff will continue doing? Or do you need direction to make sure that we are continually working with BC Wildfire Services to look at some of these areas within the municipality? So again, I don't want to say it's over behind the Vic Center down the bottom of Burgeon or wherever it is. I think that's not my expertise. You have staff that has expertise, or there's other agencies that have some of that expertise, knowing that we've applied for a grant to hire an individual. But is this direction you need, or is this something that we will continue to move forward on?
We don't need direction for that. The current wildfire protection plan, even though it is dated, does outline some of those areas in it already. I think that's probably where we would focus until the Fire Smart coordinator is hired. But no, we don't need direction from council to continue with that work.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And again, I just want to thank staff. I mean, obviously, thank BC Wildfire Services to be communicating with staff too. But, you know, it even talks that sometimes it takes up to a year. So, you know, it's just another, to me, it was another thing that we heard at a Let's Talk last year was, you know, what are we doing? What are we doing from our side? What can we keep hammering? And I think this is another option for us to look at within the municipality itself, not including what the government will be doing on their own. So thank you for that. Any other discussion in regards to BC Wildfire Service controlled burns? Okay. Development variance permit application for 119 Peace River Crescent. Report dated July 2nd, 2024 from the Director of Protective Services, Fire Chief, regarding development variance permit application 119 Peace River Crescent. At this time, I have to declare a conflict. This is my personal residence, so I don't have a monetary gain, but it's perceived that way. So I'll be excusing myself and asking Councillor Julik to step in.
So I will ask for recommendation. Councillor Norbury.
Thank you. That council authorizes administration to proceed with the development variance permits application submitted for 119 Peace River Crescent, lot number 165, plan number PGP 29116.
Seconder. Councillor Clickash. Any discussion? Councillor Norbury.
Thank you. So the reason why I support the request is that we've supported a previous request just like this. I can appreciate that this is asking for you know, a setback. I don't see an issue with it, so I support it. Thanks.
Any other discussion? All right, I'll call the question. All in favor? Any opposed? No. All right. So Councillor Dussault's going to get the mayor back in here.
Okay, moving on to 9.5, development variance permit application for 107 Skunk Avenue. Report dated July 2nd, 2024 from the Director of Protective Services, the Fire Chief, regarding development variance permit application 107 Skunk Avenue. Recommendation. Councillor Julik.
That council directs administration to proceed with the next steps in the development variance permit approval process for the application submitted for 107 Secunca Avenue, Lot 1, Plan EPP 137633.
Seconder? I'll second it. All in favor? Opposed? Oh, seconder, sorry, discussion, thank you. Thank you, sorry. Trying to move it right forward. Discussion, sorry. Councillor Norbury, and then I got myself after that.
Thank you, Mayor Kakalka. So, looking at this application, it looks like the residents at this area want to extend their fence from plan, I'm looking at the map on page 123. So we have lot 95 and 97, and they have like the regular red line, and they want to move it out to, the setback of the road, I know that that's the requirement, but, my thoughts on this is that this may be their backyard, but it's Canusio Avenue's front yard. I know, like with myself, when I bought my property, before I even bought my property, I looked into what regulations are for fences. And I'm a subscriber to, I appreciate our community's no fences on the front yard. I think, I was just admiring it today while I was thinking about this. Driving down, everyone's front lawns are open. And that's the entirety of the community. So at this time, I can appreciate it's their backyard, but it's Canusio Avenue's front yard. So, I can't support them wanting to put a fence in their front yard, as everybody else has to follow the same rules. Thanks.
Thank you. I got myself and then Councillor Noxana. My comments would be, previous council I said on, we actually changed the bylaw to not allow it to come out past where a house would be built if they bought a piece of property behind their house. And the reason was for that reason, that if somebody was to buy their property beside, on either side of this piece of property, when they built their house, they'd still have, a front lawn. Not look to the left or the right and see a fence. So that's why that was put into place, because we noticed it happen a couple incidents around the community without that being put in place. So we asked staff to move forward with changing that to not allowed to come out past where a house would be legally allowed to be built. To, just like Councilor Norbury said, to have, so we don't have fences on the back of their yard, but which is the front of Canusio Ave. So I won't be supporting the motion on the floor. Councillor Noxana, then Councillor Julik.
Thank you. So I appreciate that there's concerns about if a house was to be built beside them, but I'd also like to note, if you're looking on one side, that is like an end lot. So there'll be no house on this side. And on the other side, would it be fair to ask them for like an angled fence? So if someone was to build there, they would have some sightline. Because I just, like, this is their lot, and they've bought 2 extra lots to make this into their yard. And it cuts out a ton of space for them. Sorry, a bird just hit the window by my head. Lost my train of thought. Anyway, cuts out a ton of space for them if they were to have 12 feet back. And it's essentially wasted space. And you see in other lots, if someone has that fence and they're never driving back there, the upkeep is worse, things like that. So I'm not sure following the bylaw in this case makes sense.
Okay, appreciate your comments. Thank you. Councillor Julik.
I echo Councillor Norbury's comments. I didn't realize actually that we couldn't have fences in our front yard until our Let's Talk, and we got talking about bylaws and stuff. And so today when I was driving around to look at the variances asked for today, I appreciated those front lots, same as Mayor Kakalka and Councillor Norbury have talked about. My other concern in that specific spot, we've got a really sharp corner coming down there, because I have to come down there, and it would absolutely, I think it's a safety concern. And to Councillor Noxana's points, that lot is still available to them. They're just not able to fence it where they want it, like that. They're not losing any space. They're just not able to put the fence in the space that they want it to be. And I appreciate that their neighbor to the south, that's a corner lot but then there's 2 or 3 lots before the next lot. And yeah, like it would come out a fair bit. And I've seen where it came out on another spot before the bylaw that Mayor Kakauka talked about, and it definitely makes a difference. And I don't know if we have limits on how high the fence could go. And then again, that would be, do we have a limit? Okay, I see heads nodding, so that's good. But yeah, I feel like there could also be a safety issue there. So I won't be voting in favor of the motion either.
Thank you. Councillor Clickash.
Yes, there's 7.5 meter setbacks for houses in the front. It was also done for sight lines for children that might be coming down the driveways, whatever. You know, if you put your fence out right to your property line, you're cutting down that sight line, and it could be a danger to children that are trying to come out of their lot, their front yard. So I think we should consider that issue as well. And whether it's 7.5 meters, or if it's a new bylaw that's coming up, that maybe 6 meters is the setback, whatever the setback is from the property line, that's where the fence should go. It shouldn't go anywhere else, as far as I'm concerned.
No, and I agree, and I mean, it's in the bylaw, but I mean, the residents do have the right to go through staff to come forward with a variance, and that's what this resident has done, is work through the process with staff to ask council for accepting their variance request and their reasoning why, and obviously we have to debate it, which I think we're having a good debate around council, and you know, here's some of the reasons I have, and then we'll have to make a decision at the end with a vote. Councillor Hoffman?
Thank you, Mayor. I guess that's really what I wanted to be cleared up on, because we're talking about from property line, from center line of road and all that. So is this 12-meter line? Okay, you can
Just
clear it
ask
up.
your
So
question,
just
I'll go to
asking-
staff.
And that's just the clarity I'm talking about. If we're talking about the 12-meter line, is that where the structure can start from, however we're calculating it? And just want to be clear on that.
Ms. Scott? So we're just getting confirmation on where we measured from. We've heard from the center line, we've heard from the edge of your property line and such. If we can just get clarity from staff, please.
I will defer that to our protective director, Dustin Curry, who drew this diagram for you.
Thank you, Ms. Scott. Mayor and Council, good evening. So the current bylaw actually states that the fence cannot be placed, or has to be placed on the maximum permissible setback for the building, for principal building on the back property. So in that case, that's measured 12 meters from the edge of the property line, not from the center line of the road. That's the previous way, and that's what this resident, this applicant rather, was looking for, is to revert back to the other way. So we're talking 12 meters from the edge, or from the edge of the property line.
Okay, so
Councillor Hoffman?
is there a minimum setback if that's the maximum?
Ms. Scott?
Again, I'll ask Mr. Curry to answer that.
Thank you, Ms. Scott. So the minimum setback for principal building on that property would be 7.5 meters from the front of the parcel.
Thank you, staff.
Thank you very much for the response. Okay, any other questions? Yep, I got her. Councillor Noxano? Yeah, I had her.
Thank you. So I just want to say, like, normally I support residents having options that suit them on their own property, but Councillor Clickash had a really good point there about safety, that if someone was biking, a child especially, biking out of their driveway and the fence is that far back, we do need to think about things like that. Whether it's a resident, just they don't like the look of someone's yard, I'm a little iffy on that. Safety, I think we do have to consider, so I won't be voting in favor.
Okay, thank you. Sorry? No. Any other discussion? Okay, the motion on the floor is that council directs administration to proceed with the next steps in the development variance permit approval process for the application submitted for 107 Skunk Avenue, Lot 1, Plan EPP 137633. Call the question, all in favor? Opposed? All of council and the mayor are opposed. The motion is defeated. 9.6, expression of interest results, land lease, pasture land at Saddle Club Road. Report dated July 2nd, 2024, from the Deputy Corporate Officer. regarding expression of interest results, land lease, pasture land at the Saddle Club Road. Recommendation from council. Councillor Julik.
That council receives this report for information.
Seconder. Councillor Norbury. All in favor? Carried. Schedule of meetings. Just in case council has missed it, but July 24th, I haven't heard any changes, and that'll be the grand opening at Soto First Nation for their culture center. It was emailed out by the EA. I know I will be attending. I'm taking the Dynomobile. So if anybody else would like to travel along, if you're able, just reach out to me and let me know. I'm going to get clarification from Chief Paquette on stuff, and something we learned last year, if we can please have staff arrange some kind of gift that we can share with all. It's just something we learned attending their events. So, it's to share with every individual that does attend this grand opening. So there's children and adults there, but if bring a gift to share in the greeting. Okay, anything else from council in regards to schedule of meetings? Pardon me, you're good?
I'll go in the other part.
Okay, and I will send out a thing. I'm not sure if staff have received it yet or not for Pemmican Days and West Mo Days, but that's coming up too, so. And then the doctor's conference is also coming up. That's this weekend, or next weekend, sorry, for people that can attend. I know there was an invite sent out, so maybe just reply back through Ms. Scott if you're able to attend and go that route. Okay. Anybody else have anything in regards to scheduled meetings? Staff side?
No.
Thank you. One thing I'd like to mention, it's not scheduling meetings for July or August, but I think when it comes to scheduling meetings, we should have staff look at maybe possible dates in October for the next Let's Talk. And the reason I suggest that, one, gives us time to advertise for our local residents, but it also gives us time to reach out to Northern Health to see if they can attend that with more timing on that side of it. If council's okay with that? Staff's good with that, just try to have a look at a couple different dates. Maybe bring it forward in the August meeting or the PMP.
Yes.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, any notice of motions? Okay, councilor's business. Thanks to Councillor Noxana for all your reports, and as well as Councillor Dussault. Anything from the floor? Councillor Julik.
I had the Healthcare Task Force meeting on Thursday, so I'd just reiterate what Mayor Kakauka said, that mayor and council were all invited to the Friday night dinner at the museum and the pig roast at Lions Campground on the Saturday evening. I did send that email out, but if you guys need times, let me know.
Thank you. Anything else from the floor? Okay, I want to take a couple opportunities to just have a conversation. Some of the things that have obviously been delivered to Town Hall. First, we received a picture of Town Hall from kindergarten class. Councillor Julik was in attendance at Town Hall, so we got some pictures, and then they got a picture of the acting mayor, which I believe is Councillor Julik this month. It was great. They did a really, really good job. And then we did receive a framed picture in from the go-kart program. So, again, thanks to those young adults for everything they did. And to me, it just shows the maturity. One, when you see them not hesitate to get a picture in front of council and stuff like that, but also cards. And I'm not a sticker collector, but if council would like to take a sticker, there's one from every group. So feel free after the meeting to help yourself. Or in the middle of the meeting. But it's just great to see, and to me, that was well done. Couple things, attended obviously Let's Talk last week. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't think we had a huge amount of residents there. We had 10 residents. We had 5 councillors, 1 mayor. We had 1 councillor off sick. and we had 10 staff. I want to thank staff for putting that together. It's great to have the snacks, the coffee and such, and the intercom, if we could work on the intercom within the community center. Very hard when we're having that and the mics are cutting out. I got to be honest, it's very, very, very frustrating. Whether that's a budget process that comes forward, I totally appreciate looking at that, because I think we need to make sure we have something available there for people to be able to hear the responses. I attended Canada Day. Again, I'm going to tell staff, thank you very, very much for all the hard work that went into organizing it over there. It looked great. I mean, I can only talk about one person. Not normally do I pat people on the back. Normally I would only say it was Miss Scott, but I got to hand it off to one of your employees, and that's Roxanne Trudeau. She did an amazing job over there. Well prepared, well set up. Couldn't ask for anything better in my eyes. You know, well prepared, waiting for, you know, knew where I had to be at the right times and stuff. So again, when I can work not with staff that I'm supposed to work on with pretty directly, I thought it was well the ending result was great there, I think. It's great to see the RCMP there, our Rangers, our junior Rangers, Lions Club, the grad class for 2025, stuff like that. I think it was great. They had great games there for the children and for the youth. Everybody bragged about the burgers and the hot dogs and such, and I just think it was well attended by our local residents, but also our visitors. So hats off to staff for making that happen over there. I did have a couple phone conversations, one with Chief Wilson, and that's why I understood that West Mo Days is coming forward and stuff. But just dialoguing, just checking in, seeing how everything is going in Tunbridge. No other conversations than that, just a check in. Did have a conversation with Chief Paquette as well, and that was during some of the issues with Cool getting an extension on their haul permit to haul more coal from the Quintet side, from the Little Windy Pit, up to the Wolverine mine site. I did meet with Lisa, I don't know if it was last week now, week before maybe, and then the letter was complete the following week to send a letter to ministry. We forwarded it on to Kanuma. Thank you for those letters. I think it made a difference. Chief Paquette also received our letter, thought it was well written, so thanks to staff for doing that. But they did get their extension, so were able to haul a bit more tonnage of coal coming out of Little Windy. I had a conversation with Kanuma Coal last week as well through the phone. And if they need us, they'll reach out and we'll go from there. But they are, obviously, I'm pushing for the Little Windy restart, but they are from their side as well. So hopefully that proceeds on the time that they need it and that they can produce coal coming out of the Little Windy. So other than that, it was fairly quiet from that side. Again, just want to thank staff for the Let's Talk, setting that up, having that prepared for Mayor and Council. The presentation that our CAO put on and was able to speak to, thank you very much for that. I think it definitely helped some of the residents. There was some comments that came out of there, just, you know, a little different way of doing it than we have before. So thank you for that. I think you did a great job on that presentation. I think it helped the process. And just out of that, one thing I did have a chat with our CAO was, you know, like, maybe council, even the newly elected would have remembered one time at a Let's Talk, we did like a round table or a group table where we had the director of protective services at one and the director of public works at another. And, you know, I did mention it to Ms. Scott about maybe something to look at another Let's Talk, but she has a better idea. So going to leave that in her hands. I think we just I know council had mentioned about, hey, what about this scenario? I think Ms. Scott's got a really good idea when to do that, and I think it would be taken away if we give direction to do it at one of our Let's Talk. So I want to make sure council's aware of that. I think Ms. Scott's she thought about it, she's come forward with an idea, and I think we'll just wait for that idea to come forward and council will hear it. Other than that, I have nothing else. Councillor Julik.
Sorry, I just have to add my 2 cents. I heard some really great things also, Ms. Scott, about your presentation. It was a good way to or for people to meet you there in town, because they were like, wow, like, she's like got her finger on the pulse already, so they were impressed, the folks that I'd talked to. And I just wanted to say, I really appreciate that we're able to bring the kindergarten class in. They were so super excited. I happened to be here having a meeting with Miss Curry that day and Miss Scott. And they were so super excited to see the mayor, and took him a couple minutes because he didn't know they were coming, and so they got to talk on the mics. We tried to convince him to come up here, but Miss Tobin rained on that parade, so. But they thought Mayor Kakalka was amazing, and he got all the hugs and stuff, and we did get pictures. We're just not allowed to distribute them just because of the school rules and stuff. So I think that's awesome that staff make it possible for the kids to come in, because they thought it was a blast.
Perfect, thank you for that. Anything else from council? Okay. Question and answer period. Are there any email questions?
No, there aren't any emailed questions. I do have that policy number, though.
Okay, cool. I was about to ask for that. It's written down here. Okay, Gilbert.
It is admin 38.
Thank you. Cool. Any questions from the gallery? Nothing? Well, I can't think of anything? All right. Okay, Councilor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Kakalka. I'll make a motion that we waive policy admin 38 to allow for the Trora Golf Tournament.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Hoffman. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Councillor Julick is opposed. Motion carries. All right, resolution to close. Take the recommendation, please. Councillor Julick.
That the July 2nd, 2024 regular council meeting be closed to the public according to Section 90, 1, C, and J of the Community Charter to permit discussions about C, labor relations and other employee relations, and J, information that is prohibited or information that if it were presented in a document would be prohibited from disclosure under Section 21 of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Dussault. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. 5-minute recess.